I am. This is Monday Night Football Plays, week number 7, I believe. 7, right? Yeah. So here we go. 2 games tonight. 2 Monday Night Football games. I actually like this. A lot of people don't necessarily like this. I actually do. Um, I like it when there's 2 plays in the evening on Monday night because number one, it gives you more options, right? A ton more options. But number two, the you have a lot more available as far as like teasers that night, parlays, different things you like to do on a Monday night. Maybe I know a lot of guys are Monday night recoupers. What I mean by that is they go and that though they lost on the weekend, so they try to make it all back Monday night. I don't advise that, but if you have 2 games on Monday night, it definitely makes it easier. So there's that. All right. We're gonna recap a little bit of the weekend. A couple crazy things happened this weekend. Number one, Deshaun Watson went down, so Cleveland is getting rid of Deshaun Watson. Obviously, I never want to see anyone get hurt, but you can't tell me that Cleveland isn't happy about that. Fan base probably kind of happy about it just to get out of that mess. This is probably going to give Cleveland an out as far as moving on from him because it looks like he's going to easily be a year away. He messed his Achilles up. Jaden Daniels got hurt. Terrible situation there. Just some ribs, so he'll definitely be back. Mariota looked good in his backup, but we'll see how long that lasts. Mariota's been historically pretty good in a backup role, but when it comes to starting role, not so great. Another situation that happened is Russell Wilson played Sunday Night Football, and in the first half it was not great. The second half he looked amazing. The Pittsburgh Steelers looked different with him, that's for sure. They looked like a team that could throw the football, where with Justin Fields it looked like they couldn't throw the football. That's a big difference for them. Tomlin is a genius. That's right. We were talking crap about him last night too, as he won our money for us. So crazy how gamblers are. But it definitely looked good. It really did look good last night. Hello. I have no idea where that flag's from, but cool. Good night. Okay. Also cool. So here we go with the commenters. This is going to be fun. 33 people. Wow, that's new. Glad to see y'all. I haven't seen a group like this in a while. Oh, down to 22. So that's jumping all over the place. That's a trick. They're tricking me. But anyway, so some other stuff that happened is Kansas City established themselves as the best team in the NFL, if you didn't already believe that. I know that game probably looked closer than it was. Hello from India. It wasn't that close. The 49ers were never really in that game. I know it was a 2-point game for a while, but anyone watching that game never thought for a second the 49ers were going to win it. You can't make me believe that. I didn't. The Lions and Vikings game was insane. That was 2 great teams going at it, come down to a last-second field goal twice. I mean, like just a crazy run. For both them teams are really good. That's a really tough division to win right now. No team in it is worse than 4-2. Crazy division, crazy tough division. You think so? It doesn't seem like they will to me. He throws them, and well, the ones yesterday weren't on him, where earlier in the season they were definitely on him. Yesterday he had a batted ball, and then I can't remember what the other one was. But it was they weren't so much on him, where the ones earlier in the year where he just threw it to the other team. But with that defense, I don't know that they ever catch up to him. He's beat all the good teams throwing picks. So every team, all the good teams they've played, he's throwing interceptions. So I don't know that they catch up with him. He probably actually starts throwing less and less. So I want to bring something up about that, guys. Okay, so anyone that's confused by why the Kansas City is struggling a little bit on offense, you got to remember through spring, this was their lineup in spring training all the way till the first game. Basically, Hollywood Brown, Worthy, Rice, Kelsey, Pacheco. Those were the guys they practiced with in spring. And so that's the offense they installed was with those guys. Well, they get to the first game of the season, and now all of a sudden they don't have all these guys, and then they go down. So they've been trying to fill all these holes that happened basically instantly to start the season. And so they brought in Schuster and all this different things, and it's starting to get better. Hardman had a pretty good game, but that's why. And we'll take the Bills on the flip side with the Bills. The Bills went into the season with no receivers, all right, with no quality top-end receiver. And Josh Allen has looked like a star, hasn't thrown a single interception. But it's because that's the way they practiced all coming up to this. And he's practiced to protect the ball better because he knows he doesn't have these elite talents out on the outside anymore. Now they got Amari Cooper, and it sure looked pretty good with him this weekend. Amari Cooper looked really good in the Bills' offense. So, again, it has to do with how they started the season. Now they're having to make all these adjustments. Make no mistake, they're still 6-0. And in fact, their last couple games are starting to spread out more and more and more. Yeah, Bills and the Texans are all they have left. They have anyone that doesn't understand, the Kansas City Chiefs have a very legitimate shot of going undefeated in the regular season. And if you don't believe me, look at their schedule. I mean, still 5 games against the AFC West. All right, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. Should be 5 wins right there. And then, the only 2 tough ones are Bills and Texans. That's really it. So they have a very legitimate shot of going undefeated in a year they're trying to three-peat, which sounds insane, but it's the reality of the situation. So pretty crazy weekend. The injuries were rough this weekend. They really were some of the big-time injuries. The Daniels one is tragic because if he's out for 6 weeks or something, that could really hurt them and allow the Eagles kind of back into the race because Washington's a really good football team. Overall, they're a really tough football team. And with Daniels leading the way, he has looked every bit of the entire draft pick they wasted on him or used on him, however you want to put it. Looked really good. Amazing player so far. Impressed. Very impressed. So let's talk tonight's games. So we got Baltimore, Tampa Bay. Baltimore is a 3.5-point favorite on the road. Over and under a 50 is what I was seeing, around 50. So I looked into this pretty deeply. So Baltimore is really good at running the football, averaging 5.9 yards per rush, which is insane. That's an insane number. 5.9 yards a rush is a big, huge, crazy number. Tampa Bay gives up 4.7 yards a rush. That's also a really big number to give up. If you're anywhere around 5 on either of these, it's good. Bye. If you're anywhere about around 5 on any of these, guys, it's big. So offense or defense. Baltimore gives up 8.6 yards a pass. Tampa Bay averages 8 yards a throw. So this is good on bad on both sides. Baltimore rush offense versus Tampa Bay rush defense, good on bad. Tampa Bay rush pass offense versus Baltimore pass defense, good on bad. So I expect there to be a lot of points in this one. I expect there to be quite a few points based in that I don't think either defense will do much stopping of either offense. The one thing that could change this is if Baltimore gets a little bit of a pass rush. They can rush the passer a little bit, where Tampa Bay doesn't rush the passer very well at all. And when you rush Lamar, you have to rush specific to his skill set, which is trickier to rush Lamar. You have to stay in your lanes and stuff and kind of collapse the pocket on him. Not every team can do it. You really need good interior linemen to do it, which Tampa Bay does have good interior linemen, probably maybe the best interior lineman in Vita Vea. So, or one of them, Chris Jones would be right in there. Chris Jones moves around a lot, though, so I think you just consider him kind of a defensive lineman, not necessarily interior anymore. But so that tells me there's going to be a lot of a lot of yards, a lot of scores in this one. One of the other things I like in this one is I think Lamar Jackson will rush over 50.5 yards. That's what his total's at right now. Pretty well when Lamar Jackson is under 75 yards. I like to bet it. And he likes to shine in the primetime games. So and with Pittsburgh winning, like there's more emphasis for Baltimore to win and keep pace, waiting for their Pittsburgh games, right? So, I fully expect Lamar to have a big day. I think he runs the ball all over them, and Derrick Henry runs the ball over him. The problem with Derrick Henry props is they're all juiced up. Like over 87.5 is what he was at, but it was minus 140. So they make it unbettable in some ways. So I like Lamar Jackson over 50.5 rushing yards, and I like Baker Mayfield over 257.5 passing yards. A couple of reasons. One, I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot because I think Tampa Bay is going to be behind. So I think they're going to be a lot of passing for Tampa. Should I order Taco Bell? I like that. Very nice. Yeah, that's all they're going to order at the Jets is just Taco Bell because they're not ordering wins. So that and I like Mike Evans to score a touchdown. He's plus 125. I like that. But here's the one I really am interested in for Derrick Henry is 2 touchdowns for Derrick Henry is plus 265. 1 touchdown, it was like minus 150, not good. But 2 is plus 265. Anytime they get inside that 5-yard line, they're going to let him run it. So, and I don't think Tampa Bay can stop it. So I expect Henry to get a couple shots in 2 touchdowns plus 2.5. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot there. So, what I like here, like I said, is Henry 2 touchdowns, Evans 1 touchdown, Jackson over 50.5 rushing yards, Mayfield over 257 passing yards, and I like the over. And I know it's high, 50.5. Yeah. As far as I can tell, everything I saw, he was listed to go. I just looked at this a second ago because I always look at all this right before I do these. Let me pull it up one more time. He wasn't on the injury report as he wasn't going. Yeah, so one of the things, see, he's not even listed. Vita Vea is questionable. Evans isn't even listed. He gets the big red zone looks is why I like to bet Evans a lot. He gets them fade routes and stuff. They're always thrown to him in this offense. So that's why I like to bet Evans a lot for touchdowns. He's actually one of my favorite players to bet for touchdowns. If you want me to, yeah, sure. I guess that's the case all the time, though. One of the things, if I'm picking a side here, I'm taking Baltimore. I think it's more sustainable to be able to run the ball than it is to be able to pass the ball. Okay, so the receiving problem with Henry is on the passing downs and they put in Hill. They use the other back. So it would have to be a situation where it was like a dump off more so than a called play. And I don't like to bet props that they're not going to be called plays. So I don't like to, like a lot of times you get guys that are like quarterbacks that are 1 rushing yard, but they don't ever run the ball. These, certain quarterbacks never run the ball. Yeah, and so they just don't throw it to Henry that much. Here, let me look him up. I want to just make sure I know what I'm talking about here. I think on the season he has just like barely any receptions. So for the whole season, he has 6 receptions. That's it. 6 receptions on the whole season. That's like 1 reception a game. And the reason is because they throw it to the other back. Because I looked at that one, I really did. HSU grad, I was like, man, that's low. All we need is one play there. But the problem is did they ever throw him the play? Do they ever even do it? And that's the worry with that one. If you do get it, it's going to take one time, right? He's going to get one screen pass or something, or one dump off, and he's going to get 12 yards, and it's going to be good. Problem is it ever going to happen? And that's my issue there. That's why I stayed away from it. I did think that was a great number, but man, I just don't know that we'd ever get the play. I think it's more likely that he runs 2 touchdowns in at plus 265 than he catches one ball for 7 yards. I think that's crazy to think like that, but it's just the way they play and the way they use Derrick Henry. So obviously today he'll have like 100 receiving yards and 8 catches, and it'll probably be how it is today. But but because I said this, right? So that's where I'm at on this one. If I'm choosing a side here, I like the Baltimore. Even if you're laying the points, I like the Baltimore side. Like I said, I think it's easier to run the ball than it is to throw the ball. Which the Baltimore's a better running team. They're the best running team, actually, because of the 2 running threats. And it's just more sustainable, right? Passing teams generally play from behind, and running teams generally play from ahead. So isn't that that's what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the Monday Night Football games. I'm a little confused. So that's where I'm at here. Moving on to the next game, we got the Chargers and Arizona. The way it's listed is Arizona is a 1-point underdog at home, which tells me, yeah, you're not late, buddy. You're not late. I'll go back through everything I put in. If you get on my Discord, you get all this written on the chat. It makes it a lot easier for you. So this one, I noticed a couple of interesting things in. This total's pretty low, 44. Arizona has consistently scored quite a bit. There's definitely some spots where Arizona, has been less full of points, I'll call it. So against Green Bay, they only scored 13, but against San Francisco, they put up 24. Washington, they only scored 14. Detroit, they only scored 13. So we're going to call them roughly between 13 and 17 points. So that means the Chargers in this case have to get, they have to score quite a few points for this total, this over 44, under 44. And have they done that? Against the good defenses, they only put up 10. Against the bad teams, they put up 26, 22, and 23. So this total, it's really close to where it needs to be, right? So here's where I think we're going to see this game go over. And this is my thought process on it, is that I don't think Arizona can stop the run. So I think that even though the Chargers are going to be dedicated to the run because it's a Harbaugh offense, I don't think Arizona can stop it. And so I think that this just creeps its way over. And here's another thing is I actually think that Arizona will be able to throw the ball on the Chargers. Every other team has thrown the ball on the Chargers pretty well. So even the Broncos threw the ball on them relatively well with a rookie quarterback. So Bo Nix threw for 216 and 2 touchdowns against the Chargers. That's a rookie quarterback with a bad receiving core. The best they did was against Kansas City, and they always play well against Kansas City. Mahomes still threw for 245 on them. So there's yards to be had against the Chargers defense through the air. So let's see what Fields threw for on them. Fields threw for a pretty good chunk on them. 245 from Fields. So Kyler Murray's going to have a good day here. And I think that's going to put the Chargers a little more in the pass mode as well. And so I'm looking at this as we're going to see more points than we should normally in this case. And I also think that it's going to make Justin Herbert throw the football, which is something we haven't really seen, right? On the season, he's only got 815 yards, where Kyler Murray has 1,100 yards. And most quarterbacks are already well over 1,000. I think this is the spot where they're going to have to turn their passing game loose a little more. Plus, some of these rookies have been coming along, like your McConkey and stuff like that. So I actually think we see kind of a change here for the Chargers, and they're not able to just always run, because I do think that the Cardinals are going to be able to throw the football on them. And so I like the over 44 in this one as well. And I like Herbert. His passing yards was over 199 or under 199. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't know that he's had a game over that yet. Let me look it up really quick. I think they've all been under that number. Let me look here. Nope, I was wrong. Against Denver, he threw for 237. But all the other games he's played this year were under that number. Now, mind you, he played the Kansas City defense, Pittsburgh defense, and the Las Vegas defense at the beginning of the year when it was still pretty good. He did play Carolina's defense, but they were so far ahead so early in that game it didn't matter. But overall, I think we see Herbert throw for quite a few more yards today. So I like this over 199 pass yards. I don't think Arizona stops anybody passing or running. So I like the Chargers to score into the 20s. And I think that we see the upper end of Arizona's scoring ability, which should be 17-ish. I think we get to the 44. Again, it's a Monday Night Football game, so they both should be, everyone always talks, they're on TV, but they're not a standalone game here. I don't have as good of a grasp on this game for sure as I do the other game. This game, the teams are far more limited, right? The Chargers have been a very limited team this year, even though they've had a pretty good year up to this point. They've just been limited, right? It hasn't been great. It's been just okay. And Arizona's kind of been the same way. They've had a couple big wins and then, some kind of unusual losses. And that's not, it's not crazy to think. But all right, Ayuk is done for the year. I just heard from my Discord. Brandon Ayuk done for the season. Yeah, that happens. But so what I'm getting at here is that I don't think that either of these teams are really going to limit what the other one does in this Arizona game. I think Arizona's going to be able to throw the football. I think the Chargers are going to struggle with Kyler Murray's movement. I also think that the Chargers are going to be able to move the ball on Arizona pretty well at will. So, like I said, I don't like a ton in this game. If you make me pick a side here, I'm going to side with the Chargers based on I just trust them more. I guess in this case, I just trust them to not fail more times than I trust Arizona to not fail. I know it's a weird way to look at that, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So if I was choosing a side, I would choose the Chargers. But I like the over way better than I like the side. I like Herbert over 199 pass yards. So now for my fun play of today. This is a play that I think is money. Now, if you don't like Evans because you're worried about the injury, I understand that. I totally understand that. But I like, if your site will let you parlay touchdown scores, I like Mike Evans and James Conner parlayed to score a touchdown each. James Conner was minus 110. Mike Evans is plus 125. It's a pretty good payout if you get them both in the end zone. So that's the one. That's what I like for kind of like my fun play here. I almost thought about taking Mayfield for 4 touchdowns or more at 10-1. Then I got away from that. It's hard to do. It's hard to throw 4 touchdowns. But so I got away from that. So this is my fun play of the night. I actually think, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that Zay Flowers is their number one receiving target. He's going to get a lot of that. And Lamar also throws him deep balls. So he has a lot of deep crossers and stuff. So when you get up over that like 60 mark for receivers, they really need to be receivers that catch some deeper routes. So you could get 30 of it in one catch. But Zay Flowers fits that bill for sure. That's a pretty good line for him. I'll agree with that. Yeah, I have no issue with that bet. I think it's a good bet. But let me recap what I got for today. So I like the over in both games. So over 50.5 in the first game, over 44 in the second game. I like Mayfield over 257.5 passing yards. I like an Evans touchdown. I like Henry 2 touchdowns or more. And I like Lamar Jackson, over 50.5 rushing yards. I like Herbert over 199 passing yards. And I like Evans and Conner in a TD parlay. James Conner is the running back for Arizona. Mike Evans, the receiver for Tampa Bay. That's what I like today. Again, that's kind of a lot of plays for 2 games, but not really. These plays kind of fit in how I think the games are going to go, more so than. So some plays I make are based in what I'm doing over the course of a year, like the interception props. So I didn't mention them here, but I bet both players to throw a pick. So all the primetime games, I always bet both players to throw a pick. I do that all the time. If I'm specifically picking one or the best guy in this one to throw a pick, it has to be Mayfield. And the second place would be Kyler Murray. And that to me is because of the sheer amount of throws these guys are going to throw. So the Mayfield interception, what's up, Matt Yancey? So the sheer amount of throws these guys are going to throw, Mayfield, he's probably going to bump 45 throws, I bet, in that game. So you're just getting that many more times. Plus, Baltimore's defense is probably better than these other teams. And so if you're picking one interception prop to be the best, I like Mayfield. Second place would be Kyler Murray, based in that he's going to throw 30 or more throws, most likely. The next one would be Lamar. And then the last one would be Herbert. And that has to do with how many throws I think he's going to throw in the game. And that's a big part of it. So he's not averaging a ton of throws per game. And so that's a huge part of when you're betting these interception props is there's a volume aspect to it. Did the guys throw 30 times a game? If they do, they're probably a good play. If they throw under 20 times a game average, then they're not a great play because it's just the amount of throws that it takes for an interception. On average, I don't know what the NFL average per throw per interception is, but I'm guessing it's around 20. Let me see if I can look that up really quick. I'm kind of curious now. It's not giving me an exact number. That's weird. Of all the things that normally AI can pick right up on. I like the Herbert passing yards over. Yeah. Part of that's a 2-part thing is one, I think he's going to throw more in this game based on Arizona. And two, I think that they're getting more used to the receivers. Even though it's not a Harbaugh style, I think that getting more used to the receivers is going to generate more yards because the quality of the throw is going to be better. So what I mean by that is the guys are going to be more wide open. There's going to be more yards after the catch. And I think going over 200 is not a huge ask in this game based on Arizona's defense. And so I still think with the way they play football, though, we're gonna have to have one big one in there. We're gonna have to win one 40-yarder or 50-yarder to really make this a good play. So it's not my strongest play on the board for sure. Um, in fact, if I'm being real honest, I don't think any of these plays are super strong. Like I would never rate any of these as like a 5% play or a multiple unit play. I just don't think they have that much value. Um, but overall, I do. These are the bets I've made in the games. 40 per throw. I guess that would make sense if you averaged them all together. It might be very close. It just seems like that's a lot. Where, huh? It seems like it would be closer to 20 to me. Maybe individual basis is better. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time. My kids are just getting home from school, so I'm going to hang out with them. You guys have a great day. This is Jacob from Wager Me This.